Hey, how's it going so far? We're back in person? Oh, man. Who else got comfortable like COVID? You get to stay home like somebody like me that's speaking all the time, flying everywhere. I'm not going to lie, it's kind of nice. Get to stay home, wear my drawers, do some virtual meetings. Don't act like none of you guys did that in a pair of basketball shorts. That's what I meant, something like that. But this is my jam. I like being in person so much, but everybody that knows me knows like I'm a people person. I want to be in the mix. So I'm excited to be here. I'll go ahead and kick off introductions. My name is Yano. I'm the CEO of RYNO Strategic Solutions. We are a digital marketing company for the trades since 2008. So I've been in the trenches with y'all for 14 years. And guess who gets beat up on every time we hit spring and fall? It's always my fault. It's miraculous. 70 degrees out, gotta be my fault. But I've been blessed to be able to serve in the blue collar industry, specifically HVAC, for 14 years. So we have roughly about 140 employees today, which is pretty incredible, all fighting for you guys, doing the same thing, trying to bring in new leads, residential island replacement and service. Like that is my jam. So I'm an analytical nerd. So the things I'm gonna share with you guys today are facts that I've learned on how to help scale some of the biggest companies in the HVAC and plumbing industry. So you guys cool with that if I share a couple little pieces of advice? All right, and I'm gonna kick it over to my man, Daniel.
I don't have quite as fancy of an introduction, but my name's Daniel Parker. I'm the manager of our loyalty programs here at Lennox. I've actually been with Lennox for a little over 4 years and have been working with Chris now for, 2 years?
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I will hijack this entire presentation. I'm gonna give Daniel a few slides to talk on,
Just a few.
It's a couple.
Hey.
So I am a very tactical person. I want you to be able to write some shit down and then take it away that you can implement into your business tomorrow that costs you no money. Is that fair? So you got no excuse to not do it. None, zero. All right, but first thing we're always trying to do is we gotta get attention. I mean, that is what we're trying to do. I try to get attention by wearing really bright orange shoes. Anybody remember Reebok pumps? See, those came out when I was in junior high, and I couldn't afford them because we were super poor. But as soon as I found an orange pair, I was like, I don't even care what they cost. I'm buying those Reebok pumps. I'm trying to get attention. Maybe that's what it is. But anyhow, we're gonna talk about getting attention because that's what you're in the game of doing, like it or not. You're getting attention one way or the other. I almost got attention by falling down the stairs. Anybody see that? And I worked right through it. That's a professional. But you're trying to get a good ROI, your return on influence. So we'll talk a little bit about what that means. The name of the game for a company like mine is I need to bring in new install business and new repair business. And everybody for 14 years has always wanted the most amount of leads for the least amount of what? Money. Always. That game has never changed in 14 straight years. Guess what Lennox wants me to do? Lennox wants me to gain market share. Guess how I gain market share? Y'all start buying equipment as much as possible. I'm vested into your success. So my business is no different. That's the game I'm in. I'm gonna talk through a few things on how you can max that out with little to minimal spend, if no spend whatsoever, and ultimately increase revenue. You are in the for-profit game. So first and foremost, the takeaway is gonna be on paying attention. So once we get attention, we do all these things I'm gonna share with you, then you gotta pay attention to key vitals in the business. You know, what was your most effective lead sources? I'm gonna give you facts, so that way whether it's you managing your marketing campaign, your marketing company managing your marketing campaign, to take all the BS out of it, so it's black and white, and get them to do it for you. So all you gotta do is just look at the numbers and find out what was real new business and what wasn't. All right, what's the average cost per new lead? And we're gonna talk like, what is a lead? Because I think we can all agree that what some people say is a lead is not always truly a lead. Is that fair? So, and then what is your booking rate? That's something that's really still poorly managed to this day. And it's the easiest thing to fix, and it's always overlooked. So we'll talk about that, and then how to hold your CSRs accountable and make them better. This is not a difficult task. Good companies can do it for you, so you can't say I don't have time. What can you do to build your staff, your culture, ongoing education, overall performance to support their growth? That is important. You bring in lead volume, you have to go and execute, but guess what? You got people you got to take care of. I have 140 employees. I had to learn how to be, oh, wait, you can't put this on video, so I have to block this part. I had to learn how to manage the younger staff on my company because it's different, right? You can ignore it, bitch about it, complain about it, and it does nothing for you. You got to deal with it, and you have to make some pivots and adjust along the way. And it's okay. Once you learn how you can manage and encourage them, it becomes a different game. But you need employees, all right? They're not getting any older, they're getting younger. So we got to be on top of those things. And then how can you use your growth to give back to the community? Anybody that knows me well enough, who's heard me speak before any of these, raise your hand. Thank you for coming back. That's a good sign. But I'm a big fan of giving back. It is my main driver, reputation over revenue. All these years, same thing. So I finally get the time. My commitment this year was to talk about giving back. And that's something I want to be able to share with you guys on just some ways that we've done it. So you get attention, you start to gain new business, you start to pay attention to all your staff, how you're working, your client fulfillment, all these things, and you start to build that bottom line. Don't get stingy, give back. Doing good is good business. Okay, you ready to get into it, Daniel? Okay, first and foremost, I always start off with gratitude. So I am incredibly grateful for the life that I have and the customers that I have. I'm grateful for y'all coming and picking this breakout. I promise you, you will walk out of here with value that you can implement with no excuses, and it will move your business forward. Fair enough? So thank you for sitting in those chairs right now. I want to say thanks to Lennox for asking me to come back again. Like, that's a miracle, because I know I toe the line in the gray area all the time. But I think this is like my 5th or 4th show. I can't remember because COVID messed everybody's time frame up. But I've been here plenty. I also want to say just a quick thanks to any of our customers. Are there any RYNO customers in the room at all? Right on. Thank you so much. We appreciate you guys. So your family. And what's really cool during COVID is I have a partnership with a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk. Anybody ever heard of Gary V before? So I've had the luxury of being a partner with him the last 3 years. And he pushed me at the end of 2019 to try and launch a podcast at the beginning of 2020. And so timing was really good, but it's become a full-time job. But I'm incredibly blessed because it is the largest, most downloaded home services podcast in the entire world. That's pretty badass. All one big marketing podcast serving the home services, and we hit number 19 overall in podcasts, representing for the home services. So anybody that listens to the podcast in here, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. I'm going to talk 95-5 rule. Who in here has heard me talk about the 95-5 rule? If you have, raise your hand. If not, perfect. Not you, Elliot, you don't count. So 95-5 rule. I've preached this for now, I would say probably 12 years. You're sitting in this room, okay? You're going to learn things, facts that I'm telling you. Like, I have worked with some of the biggest contractors in the United States of America. And I don't even know, I think I've had 16 Dave Lennox Award winners in the last 3 years as customers of ours. Like, we've got some shit figured out. All right, so I'm going to share those facts with you to implement. But the problem is that the majority of the time that I've done this, all these years, all these success stories, sharing facts, not just me talking to you or giving you theoretical stuff, it's facts, is that 95% of you who have the ability to go back and change something in your business, take these notes, you sit in the breakouts, you look at the new products in the vendor showcase, you do all this stuff, you go back and you get right back into the routine and you don't do anything with what you got. 95%. So if you look to your left and to your right, that's part of the 95%. And it's a fact. Still to this day, same thing. So every year until I start to see that change, I'm going to preach, please don't be the 95%. Be the 5%ers, because I promise you, I work with the 5%ers. Sometimes they're doing the basics that you just don't do. Go back, implement something. If it fails, do it a different way and try it again. Don't just give up on it. Okay, one of my favorite sayings is ambition without action is useless. Ambition without action is what? Useless. Go back and try. You took the time to be here. You left your families, your kids, or whatever, but take action and do something.
All right, so we're going to talk about how to get attention, and Chris is going to talk to you guys about the 6 P's of attention, right? And so all of us in here either own or work for an HVAC business, and depending on the market that you're in, odds are you got a lot of competition as well. So DFW, you can probably recite 1 of 10 different jingles any given day about somebody in our business. And so if you're not doing something to get the attention, then your customers are going to ignore you. And I was going to tell Chris, I opened my email inbox after 1 breakout, and I had 32 emails. 32 emails in less than an hour. So you've got to do something to get attention.
Did you have your out of office on?
You know what, I didn't.
Okay. All right, well, I like attention, so we're going to keep talking about it, but what we're really talking about is trying to get a return on influence. So how many who in here actually is in the San Antonio market? Raise your hand. Okay, nobody? Who in here does heating and air conditioning? Raise your hand. That's a pretty good guess on that one. So when a consumer is looking for you, before they've thought about anything, All they know is you do the same thing as this guy and this guy and this guy and this gal in your own market. You do the same stuff, heating and air conditioning, and they don't even want to talk to you in the first place. Like, this isn't like, they're like, please let me buy a new air conditioner or furnace. So what are you doing to set yourself apart? All right, you can say, well, I'm better at customer service. What I love is whenever I pull up like a who's doing what in the market, and somebody will say, well, this guy sucks, he's smaller than me, or this these girls are they're crooks, or whatever. I've heard it all. What are you doing differently? What's your purpose behind what you're doing? Yes, heating and air conditioning is what you're offering, but what's the purpose behind what you're doing? If you can start to share just genuinely why you got in this business, I would assume you love it. I mean, you're taking the time to be here to try and make it better. What's the reasoning behind it? Do you really care about it? Do you care about do you say you care about taking care of the customer, or is it is it transactional or is it real? Like, think about that for a second. Is it transactional or is it real? What's the purpose? Anybody ever heard of Simon Sinek before? Starts with why. Love it. He says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it first, right? We make decisions based off emotions. When you're being genuine, you don't have to fake it. All right, so think about what your purpose is and really start to put that forward. I promise you can't go wrong. I'm going to tell a quick story because people remember stories and forget the other stuff that I say. So I had the luxury of having a great relationship with a guy named Chester Bennington, who was a lead singer of a band called Linkin Park. Anybody ever heard the band Linkin Park? Yeah, they were a fairly successful band in the 2000s, and still. And thankfully, I had a great relationship with him. And in early 2000, I went to Tucson with him, and we were backstage, and he was talking to me about this particular lyric. All I want to do is be more like me and less like you. It's from a song of his called Numb, if you've heard it before. I'd play the clip, but I forgot to put it in the slide. That was one of those like last night things. I was like, it'd be cool if I threw that in there, but not necessary. If you know the lyric, you know the song. Point is that I remember sitting with him and him telling me that he was an introvert. And he would say when he was a kid, like grade school through high school, that he was constantly trying to dress like everybody else. And like if people went and hung out and did like bad stuff, he went and did bad stuff with them. He would go smoke weed with them or drink beer or whatever he would do with those things to try and fit in. And he would do all this stuff thinking it was going to make him feel better, be cool, like be different, be good. And what he said was once he realized that he felt more alone trying to be like everybody else is when he made a change and was like, you know what? I'm going to go back to just being me, like how I want, my own creative self. And he started writing again. And then they launched this album called Hybrid Theory, which became wildly successful in Linkin Park. He wanted to be less like everybody else and more like himself. Be more like you and stop trying to be like everybody else. You all do the exact same thing. Find out what you're different at, find out your purpose, and put that out there for the masses to see. If you genuinely care, I promise you it'll come across and it will increase your business. That's a fact. So some tactics, all right? I'm going to give you these 6 P's of marketing that are going to help you gain attention. This is its simplest form. If you want a tactical takeaway from this breakout, these 6 P's right here will give you those things. Number 1 P, and this is a common mistake. If you have ABC Mechanical as your name, or if it's whatever, even if it's just, like you have Hoff Heating and Air Conditioning or Breckenridge Heating and Cooling, do not make it difficult for anybody to find out what you do. Don't make them guess. The number 1 P is make sure before anybody scrolls anywhere on that website, just assume nobody's going to scroll on their phone or on the desktop. Just assume that, because that's what happens quite a bit, because speed is a necessity. Don't make them guess exactly what you do. If you do heating, air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, whatever it is, plain and simple, right there for them to see what you do. Second P, place. Where do you do it? So number 1's products. You do heating and air conditioning. Place. Where do you do it? Don't assume if you've been in the market for 50 years, 30 years, 20 years, whatever it is, that everybody knows who you are and knows where you do business. Why would we make that assumption? So many people moving in and out of markets. So there's no reason to. Make it clear. I service this area. Put this serving surrounding areas, whatever it is, but don't make them go searching for what you do and where you do it. Third P is where it always gets controversial. So I'm going to mix it in with my 4th P. So the 3rd P is price. Putting a price on your website. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, I'm not putting a price on my website. That is a race to the bottom. I've heard it all, and I've seen success on both sides. Here's my 2 cents. My job is just to give you information and stuff that's worked for others, and you do with it what you will. Price works in this context. You don't have to put the cheapest price out there. That's not the plan if you're gonna put a price on there. Put a starting from price if you wanna put something there. If somebody calls you and asks for a ballpark, you can't give it to them because you gotta send them out there. How many callbacks do you get from that? It's a very low number, unless your price is the cheapest or whatever it is that your call to action is, it's appealing. But by putting the price on there, it's not that big of a deal. You can do those things. So just an option. The other P would be promotion. So now we have product, place, price, promotion. And a promotion doesn't always have to be like a financial offer either. If you are in the install game, like the straight up install game, and you want to run financing ads, they work like a charm. But let me give you a little nugget. Do not put as low as monthly number, anything less than $89 a month. Because what you'll happen is you'll get more leads, but you're gonna have the vast majority that can't even pass the credit check to get the install done in the first place. So who cares about the lead volume if you're wasting gas money and time and sending the people out there and they can't even close? So during COVID, I bombarded that monthly number to try and figure out, what was it at 69, 79, 89, 99, 109, 19, like where was the threshold? So $89 is that threshold. Do not go lower than that. You can certainly go higher. And of course, that's based on whatever you're putting in there anyhow. But it's just a starting point from, and it's something they can wrap their head around, like I can afford those things. Other promotions would be speed of service, same day service, next day service, emergency service. Those are great call to actions that are good promotions. Your reviews, your product, if there's a specific product that you want to talk about. And then Daniel's going to hit on a few more of those great promotions that you can run too in just a minute. But the fifth P is the people. Here's what I ask. Whether you or you're using a marketing company, make certain that they understand how your customers think. We're basically in the psychology game. How can I overcome the objection that the homeowner that we know they're going to have before they even try and call you? I have to do that through a website, through an ad. How can I answer those questions before they even call you? So that when they do call you, the odds of them actually like sticking and becoming a legit customer are good. That's the game I've been in for 14 years in this exact business that I've perfected this model. But if you don't have somebody who understands your industry or your customers, how could they possibly compete against a company like ours or a Strategic America that have been in this game that long? You can't. But you can hold them accountable with the things I'm giving you to help try and make it better along the way. Or if it's yourself too, same thing. But these 6 Ps are those things that will work. The last P is always my favorite. So I'm gonna do this a little bit differently this year. The last P is personality. I'm a fan of having a personality. I think it's fun. I think what was great about COVID, I'm always finding silver linings on things, is it forced a lot of companies to think outside the box and maybe do things differently than you might have done it, that you may not have done had you not been put in that scenario. And by the way, let me tell you, COVID was amazing for our business. In this room, we were deemed essential business. How badass is that? That's what we are, is an essential business. And it's been great for our industry and using it for recruiting and all the other things to try and get people in, because guess what? We weren't afraid in the pandemic of losing our jobs because people needed us. They were home more. We are essential businesses. But it was good because we started seeing people come up with personality for their businesses, trying different things. And you've got a couple different ways that you can do that. The first one is the warm and fuzzy.
To know the way ahead, you have to remember where you started. At Kalen's, our story began 100 years ago with a simple idea of helping the people of our communities. It was the vision of those who came before us that led us to where we are today. 3 generations of good, honest work. A lot of things change in 100 years, but it's the things that remain the same that matter the most. The individuals who represent Kalen's today carry with them the same dedication as those who came before them, continuing the Kalen's legacy with pride. The history lives on within our people, and the way we treat our customers is just as memorable now as it was 100 years ago. We look forward to the next 100 years of Kalen's indoor comfort.
So they went with tenure, credibility, been around for a long time. They got your back, their family, and it works. That's genuinely who they are. That stuff works. That video came across nicely that way. Who in here watched the Super Bowl? Who in here was cheering for the Bengals? Same. Who remembers this one?
I know you want me, you know I want you.
Anybody remember this commercial that came out? Be honest, who scanned it?
I know you want me,
No, you can admit it. It's okay. I scanned it
I
too.
know you want me, you know I want you.
It was unique, it was different, and it worked. I think it cost like $5 million too. So I'm not telling you to spend $5 million. But it worked. We scanned the QR code. And can I just say, the best comeback story in the history of comeback stories, is it not the QR code? They're everywhere. It works though. You can scan it from the screen. I'm going to have one for you to scan. And you'll scan it. It'll be great. You'll see. Here's another one. So if you guys seen me give this presentation before and I talked about personality, I showed a previous Kmart commercial. It was the first one they ever did to set themselves apart. And it was, does anybody remember what it was? Ship my pants. They were shipping their pants. That was their game. That was what they used to set themselves apart, and they got edgy. They did a nice little follow-up.
Ugh, I hate these big ass prices.
Sounds like you could use some big ass savings.
I'd love some big ass savings.
Kmart Shop Your Way members save 30 cents a gallon.
30 cents a gallon? That's a big ass discount.
Big ass discount.
A really big ass discount.
Really big ass discount.
Honey, this solves your big ass problem.
Totally solves my big ass problem.
Dad, look at that big ass truck.
Big ass man.
Hello, big ass man.
Shop Your Way members get big ass savings. Save 30 cents a gallon when you spend $50 or more at Kmart.
So there's a reason they did two of those. Because the first one worked. They stepped outside the box, gave Kmart a personality, because what was Kmart typically known for? Anybody remember what Kmart was known? You don't have to be embarrassed. I shopped at Kmart. We were poor.
Blue light special.
Blue light special. They were trying to get away from the blue light special. And it worked. Even Kmart gave themselves a personality, and it was successful. All right, so I'm going to toss it back over to Daniel to kind of go back through some different promotional opportunities that you can also use and implement in the business.
Yeah, so some other ways that you guys can get attention for your business is through the promotions that you offer. And I won't go through the full details because I know Betsy's going to talk about it and Valerie tomorrow, but financing. And I'll just read a couple of quick stats here, but did you know that most Americans have less than $5,000 in their savings, and 40% don't have any savings at all? So if they have to go and replace their HVAC unit, they don't have the money to do it, to just pay cash for it. And I will tell you, I just renovated a home that was built in 1954, which required all new HVAC and ductwork. I still was not ready for the price that I was given on my system that I needed for my home. And then the other thing is monthly payments meet the consumer's expectations of how to pay for those expenses. So offering something that's affordable monthly payment for them to afford is really critical when you're thinking about financing. And then the last thing I'll cover is offering financing can help you increase your close rate by 10 to 20% and increase the ticket price by up to $2,000. So what does that mean? It means that if you're not offering finance as part of your business plan, then you're missing out, right? And another way that you can think about it too is, I mean, there's a whole list of things here, and if you were in this room the last breakout hour, you heard me talk about warranty. If you're not incorporating warranty into your business, then you're also missing out. And as I was getting ready this morning, rehearsing my breakout, no joke, as I got to this section, there was an entire window commercial that was nothing but warranty. That was their sole offer on buying windows for their home. I just renovated my house. I just told you that. If I would have been offered warranty on my windows, because that's an expense also that I wasn't ready for, I would have paid for it. So if you're not incorporating that into your business model, you're selling yourself short, and you're also selling your customers short.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are two great options. I love the financing option. It is always a winner. Anytime somebody's trying to go after postseason or preseason install business, financing offers work fantastic. You got about a 3-week window after winter and a 3-week window before winter. When we start to see those pre and post sale or straight up install leads come through, that's the perfect time to use those financing offers. It works like a charm. It's been that way as long as I've been doing this. It's always worked. But some other things that you can do too. Again, I kind of mentioned some of this when it comes to promotions, but what we're trying to do is just create a call to action, get them to take action based off of whatever it is you put out there. Again, whether it's speed to service, you can even do the trade-in offers, push your reviews, your awards you want. If you're a premier dealer, pushing your premier dealer for credibility. If there's any female owners in here, I think we have somewhere in the range of 12 different female owners that are very successful companies, and they put themselves up front. I love that. And it's just another tool they have to use. And it's very successful. And then of course, last thing being is your contact methods. Just make sure you have, if somebody wants to text you, be okay with it. Or text somebody to your office. The text feature absolutely works. If you don't have that, I promise you'll lose it. There's being business loss, 100%. Who in here has a teenager that texts them from the bedroom and doesn't even yell at them anymore? Yep, same. Pisses me off too. I can't stand it. I'm like, you could yell across the house, I could have heard that, but you'd send me a text message? It is what it is. Like, that's how, listen, how many of y'all in here text me to talk to me? A bunch, okay, exactly. I'm okay with that. I don't have my feelings hurt. It doesn't feel impersonal to me. I'm trying to move quickly too. I'm trying to, there's nothing, it is what it is. It's not going away. Text, chat, contact forms, phone calls. I'll tell you this. I heard somebody tell me on a phone call the other day that mobile has taken over everything and that desktop is dead. I'm telling you that is false. That is false. I know this industry, and I'm telling you the majority of install business to this day still comes from your desktop computer versus repair and service business on the mobile phone. That's a fact. So do not ignore your desktop and what it looks like and what it says. I promise you that will crush you real quick. It is still being used. To give you an idea of percentages, it's about a 45% people going to desktop, 55% to mobile. That number is far too big to ignore it. Far too big of a percentage. Does anybody have any of those no contact service call badges on their website? Anybody putting that stuff on there during COVID with the little, you put the mask on your technician? Not one of you put that on your website during COVID. Well done. Well, you did, because I put it on there. Reacting fast to stuff like this is, to me it's not as important, but I'm sensitive to those that it is important to. So why not put it on there if it's an option? If someone wants you to do those things and be careful, that's okay. Do those things. Indoor air quality's been great the last few years, right? That business picked up a little bit. All it do is highlight an already phenomenal product. Oh boy. Clicked it. First show. So, quick recap. Getting attention. All we're trying to do is gain influence by getting attention. Use the 6 Ps. Product, place, price, promotion, people, and what?
Personality.
You cheated. You looked at the screen, all of you. I saw you. Personality. Don't forget to give your business a personality. Now we're going to shift gears over to paying attention. Things you have to pay attention to. And things you got to pay attention to are the leads that are coming in. If you're spending money on something, you better know exactly what the return is on that. And if you don't have the time to do it, that's not an excuse, because whomever is handling your marketing or your marketing companies will do these things for you. You just got to sometimes ask for those things to get it done. But what you need to pay attention to, especially in the digital space, because that's the world I'm in, is being the analytical thinker that I am, and I want to know numbers. I want to know everything that came in from my website, both mobile and desktop. I don't want to have to guess on where my customers are coming from, if I'm you. I want to know from a pay-per-click campaign, what actually came in from that. From an SEO campaign, what actually came in from that. From your Google Maps, or you want to call it GBP, or whatever the name it is this year. So it's now Google Business Profile. But y'all know it mostly as Google Maps. So you've heard Google My Business, it's now Google Business Profile. Fun fact. You probably will forget that one. But social, tracking social, that was a phenomenal last couple of years of social, and it's doing really, really great. And it's done a lot of good things for a lot of businesses. OTT or connected TV is another great thing that's been happening. Like, people are using streaming services more and more and more. And guess what? I love those ads that pop up, because you can send a specific ad to a specific location. And then guess what? You throw on that good old QR code in that TV ad, and people will scan and book appointments right from their TV. That's cool, and it happens, and most people aren't doing those types of things. It's just another way to try and to generate business and brand simultaneously. Display ads are strictly for branding. I'm a big believer in that. And then local service ads. I don't know if any of you guys remember this too, but when local service ads first started, it was called Google Home Services. Anybody remember that? It was a different game then. It actually was a harder game, but a better game then, because it wasn't everybody, it was a select few. So when they first rolled that thing out, Google, they flew into my office on the 14th, met with us in November, and we beta tested it for Google for HVAC the first nine months of 2015. It was a way better product then. Now you can but it's an amazing product now. It's just a bidding war. I'm telling you right now, that cost, even though it's a low cost per lead, It's phenomenal if you can take advantage of it. If you really handle that thing right, the local service ads, I guarantee you that price is going to continue to go up. It is 100% going to happen. Has to. But right now, you should be taking advantage of that to its fullest. Any of the text or chat service that comes through, I love to be able to see who's coming in from that. And of course, your CSRs or whomever's answering your phone, you got to track those things. So what you should expect, no matter what, if somebody asks you, you're doing business with anybody that's doing the marketing for you, you should have some sort of like dashboard that you can log into 24/7 that houses all the data. So if you ever need to reference it, or if you have to report to somebody who's calling you into a meeting, you can get into a dashboard last minute and see what's going on. You should always have 24/7 access to anything that you have. If anybody tries to not share anything with you, like whether it be spend, on paid ads or whatever, you should have access to all these things just so you feel comfortable, because once you lose trust, it's game over. Tracking cost per lead. I like to separate new business because we're in the game of driving new leads. So I track the cost per lead for new customers. So that way we know how to scale a business. Okay. I like to track it by service. If both AC repair and installation or even maintenance, I want to track who's doing what on each, what's coming through each, what did I pay for each, what's the return on investment for each. Again, we do those things for everybody. Like your marketing companies can do all those things for you. It makes it more of a predictable outcome. Of course, your return on investment. I don't care if you're using Service Titan or Field Edge or House Call Pro or whatever you're using. Hopefully you're using something along those lines. If you are, I like to pull the revenue out of that and then attach it right to the leads so we know exactly what the return on investment is for the leads that were coming in for you that you booked and sold. After hour stuff is good to track, still a big deal. Missed calls still happens on an enormous rate, which is frustrating. Understanding of the traffic that comes in, what actually turns into a legit lead is important. I like to track lead tracking per pay-per-click, like everything individually, and then of course, what's your booking rate? So, new lead tracking reporting. So this is something you have to pay close attention to. What is considered a new lead? To me, a new lead is a bookable installation or repair lead that was not a past customer or referral. Not. Like a true lead. Like you should be able to go into your system and they're not in there. That's a new customer. Can we agree on that? Not every phone call that comes in, not every contact form that comes in is a new customer. Is that fair? I've preached this for 14 years. And I still feel like I'm trying to be the rising tide raises all ships to be able to measure the same way. Because that's what we're in the game of doing. You're paying me to bring in new business. So I need to know, and I need you to know exactly how much new business is coming in, at what cost, and what's the return. That way, we can scale the right way with facts and numbers. So I'm going to just give you a quick example of what this looks like so you have an idea of what to expect, because I promise you it's out there for you. So this is just a quick look at a dashboard, and a lot of these dashboards that exist are even prettier than this one. But these are the numbers that are in there that you need to pay attention to. What's the actual number? Because if every single phone call comes through that website, in my office, the worst job in my company is the call listening and reporting team, because it's listening to your phone calls. But it's the most informative job in the company too, because I'm hearing how every single thing that's coming in through that site, what's happening? Is it getting booked? Does Jill need help? Is she butchering objections? Is Mike got the tone all wrong? He sounds like an asshole when he's talking to people on the phone. Like, is he being disrespectful? You hear so much about the operational side of the business while pulling in a lead and capturing it. So there's pieces of software that you can buy that listen for keyword triggers, but guess what? They can't hear when an objection is missed. They can't hear the tonality of the call. It's still like 60% accurate. That's not accurate enough for me. Human beings listening to phone calls that are in this country that understand our customers matters. So knowing booking rates, repeat and referral calls, solicitors. So once every single call is listened to, it should have been categorized out. Repeat business over here, boom, straight net new. That's how it needs to be done. And to give you an idea what that looks like, here's an example. I know you can't see that. That's pretty small writing from the back row. But this bottom two circles down here, actually I'm gonna go left to right, super fast. Date and time. It's really easy to track when a call comes in. I like to see if it's during hours or after hours, number one. The second box in over here on, this side is just name, address, phone number. So we have the caller information. Right here, what was the lead? Okay, this one particular one was a plumbing lead. Was it a new customer? Yes or no? Yes. Was the appointment booked? No. It came from PPC. This was on hold for, it was PPC lead that came in, Taylor answered the phone, and they were on hold. So I don't know what happened from there, but a PPC lead came in and Taylor answered the phone. Right here is the actual recording to listen to the call yourself. But what I've identified is a lead came in from a pay-per-click campaign, that was a plumbing lead, and Taylor answered the call. The appointment wasn't booked. Why? So now I can understand from that, well, even though it's not my job, like I'm just trying to get them, I'm trying to get you to book too, but I'm still hearing the misses over and over again. So then what we do is you listen to every call. Why not give you a CSR assessment every month so you know who's answering your phones and what you can do with them. That all comes from just listening to a phone call. It's a $12 an hour position. I promise you, you're losing way more than what you'd be spending on that $12 an hour position. You can get an intern to come and listen to these phone calls. All right, man, you're up. There's your spotlight. Go get him, Daniel.
So paying attention to your performance, right? So this is another P that we got to talk about here. So if you're not paying attention to your performance of your marketing campaigns or any of the efforts that you're doing, then you don't know what your business is actually doing. You got to regularly check back on any of your efforts, any marketing campaigns you do. Otherwise, you could just be spending money and it's doing nothing for you. Right, Chris?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well done and well said.
Thanks.
So yes, you have to pay attention to your performance. I'm just going to give you a few little boxes to check here. So client fulfillment, obviously important. I just was able to do a live podcast with Neil from Keefs, who won the Community Service Award, which was awesome. And a great business that I've met, I think back in 2019, I believe that was TPK back at like one of the district meetings. And really got to learn about the business then, but understanding how important client fulfillment was to them, customer service was to them. Like it wasn't just like, hey, let's get in and get out, get in, get out. No, they really cared about the customer. So it came from that place of genuinely caring, which is the same place that goes into the giving back to the community stuff. Like you can't fake the genuinely caring piece if you genuinely care. Employee satisfaction. Like listen, employee retention is hard enough, but guess what? What's one little characteristic you can have that's helpful with employee retention? I've said it about 15 times in this presentation. Somebody throw it out there to me. One characteristic. What's that? Personality can help. I mean, that's good. Having a personality is good if you're not shy. If you just genuinely care about the employees and make sure they know that you care about them. And there's different ways that you can do these things. So something that I think that where we're like is where I've been challenged is making sure that as the team grows, what am I doing to make sure that they know that I care? I'm not just thinking it, I got to put it out there so they know. Because employee retention is important. It's so much harder to bring on new people than maintain your current staff, and you really can't scale without it. So you have to do these things. If it's part of your job, caring about your peers, there's things that you can do to accomplish those things. I'll give some of those tactics in a little bit. And of course, like the financial piece of it. Clearly, if you got to pay attention to your financials, I've been blessed enough in the last 14 years of working with some of the biggest private equity players in this space. They've bought a lot of my customers, a lot. In these particular markets, one would have been Abacus down in Houston, one would have been at Berkey's in Dallas-Fort Worth. So that was a while ago. I was a part of all these things. But the reasoning that they continue to come back to me over and over again is I know my numbers. I'm a scalable model because I know my numbers for my contractors, and my contractors know their numbers because of things I just shared with you. But everybody has to have their own set of KPIs. Like if you listen to the podcast whatsoever, I've had some of those guys on there sharing the KPIs that they look at on a daily basis, some a weekly basis. But the most successful guy is giving you exactly what they do that you should be watching and the numbers that come along with it. And then at the end of the day, we're in a market share game. We're trying to win market share. We're trying to take market share from others. Lennox is in the game of gaining market share. We only do that through you all purchases increasing because you're bringing in more volume and because you're paying attention to your staff and your client fulfillment and all these things. So when you get attention and you start growing the business, you got to pay attention to all these key vitals in your business to scale it. So I'm going to talk one thing, and now I've done this before. I just like to share one stat because I also think you need to pay attention to your competition to a point. I'm not saying focus on your competitors. That's a complete waste of time. Pay attention to your competition in your market and who is really a competitor. So because if you're trying to win the digital marketing game, you need to know who you're competing against, so your marketing company needs to know who you're competing against, and then let's talk about it. So I pulled up, we're in San Antonio, so this was an easy one. It is still, the search volume is still so ridiculously high for somebody looking for exactly what you do, but not looking for you or your competitor, to the tune of 7,470 in May. So that means 7,470 people just for the top 25 keywords that we use to pull in new business searched for exactly what you do with no business name in mind. That's a big number. It's a big market. But what are you getting of that? What piece of that business are you getting? I don't know. But it's there to get. It's there right now to get. People are still actively searching for exactly what you do. That's not going to change anytime soon. And the weakest month was November, 3,220 people a month searching for just the top 25. Guys, the number is much bigger than this. I'm just giving you the top 25 keywords that we focus on. So I also like to share, and it's such a bummer because two of the people on this next slide are not sitting in this room. But in San Antonio, these are the 5%ers. These are the ones that take things over and over again and implement it into their business. They're not afraid to fail and try new things. Now, regardless of whatever you might think about anybody on that screen, doesn't stop them from being a 5%er who's taking the majority of market share in the digital space in San Antonio, Texas. I'm blessed enough to have two customers on this list. And the first one here is Bayer. And Bayer sat in this exact same breakout with a similar thing in 2018 or 19, one of those 2 years, 18, and didn't see his name on that list. And he went back and took action. And today he's on that list. And that's a super cool moment for me to have him see that, to not be sitting in this room. I know he did. He just texted me, so I'm leaving. I'm like, dang it. And then also Rosenberg, who's also here, Lee and Michael. So another great story. They've been a customer of ours for like 7 years. What's that? Which one? Oh, Armendia. Is that John and Annie's company still? Do they sell it? Oh, San Antonio Service Experts, that's right. Got it. Oh, that's right. They're service expert too. That's right. Okay. So we're doing a pretty good job in San Antonio, Texas, I'd say. Well done, Lennox. But these are the 5%ers. These are the ones that get it done. So if your market wasn't on there, here's the QR code. Pull your phone out, scan it. This isn't a sales pitch. My team is not allowed to pitch you anything. All this is to give you who those competitors are in your own market and that same search volume. So that way you know who you're competing against. It's a simple little easy form. You'll see when you scan it, click the button. Put in 3 markets where you'd like to know how do you rank against your competitors in that market, and the team will send it to you. If you care to reach back out to the team, though, they will obviously have a meeting with you and talk through it, but that is 0 expectation. I'll give you guys a minute to scan that code.
QR code.
Is it working in the back? Yeah. Okay, thank you. That was great. You're like, yeah. All right, we're good? Are you good? Okay, perfect. All right, Daniel, take it away.
So paying attention to your people. Chris has said it a couple of times, and I don't think I could agree more with him. The people of your company are your company, and if you're not paying attention to them, then how are you going to succeed, right? And so when I think about paying attention to your company or the people of your company, it's not just knowing their name, saying hi, but it's also investing in their future within your company. And a couple of things that you guys can do with the help of Lennox, obviously, is you may be familiar with Learning Solutions, and they will be launching Lennox U at this event. And so I would encourage you guys to stop by their booth or go talk with Joe or Gabby, any of those folks from Learning Solutions to learn more. You also get a 10% discount, obviously, through the end of live, so I would encourage you guys to go there. But Lennox U is going to give you guys the opportunity for in-person and virtual classes for your employees to develop them further. Obviously, that's really good to help you with your scheduling and everything like that. So paying attention to your people is extremely important, Chris. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add there, but.
Nope. I'll go in after this one.
Yeah. So then for Spiff, this is an easy one for anybody to take advantage of. Some of you may already be doing it, but it's the Salesperson Incentive Fund. This is free money for your comfort advisors, right? So they're going to go and sell to the homeowner the high efficiency equipment, and they get rewarded, and Lennox funds 100% of this. So it's something that I would encourage you guys to take care of. It's just an added bonus for those your employees out there in the market.
Awesome, Spiff programs, those are nice. So mine's gonna be quick, culture. I'm a big culture guy. So we created something called the Good Time Committee. So, and the good time committee, what we want to do is pass on responsibility to somebody else, and it rotates per quarter. Put 3, 4, 5 people on this committee to come up with some fun stuff to do internally in the office. It kind of gets new people engaged. They get to have fun. You get to do things in the office. It's really good with getting everybody engaged in the business. They can come up with your team builders, fun office stuff. Like one thing that we did as well was that like you pick a RYNO and basically you had a $100 budget or $50 budget, and you want to pick somebody and you give them a gift, and you did a gift exchange just for the heck of it. And that would cause like such a good like wave of just awesomeness for like months because we did something unique. Team builders are huge. I mean, like so much you can do in team builders with even going into service days. Even as big as we are today, we still shut down the office once every month and we go and serve the community somewhere together. That does me no good, like in regards to like moving the business forward, my customers, because we're not in the office those days, but it's good for our souls and us as human beings, and it bonds the team. And the team, the tighter they are, the more happy they are with where they're at, the better they perform. If you genuinely care about them, this is an easy thing to do. You just got to be okay with the fact that productivity might shut down for a day. You can't do it all the same. Like we had to now switch it up to where now they're split into different days. Different crews go on different days, but it's the same thing. Man, it feels good to go and give back together. Ongoing education and training is so incredibly important. Not just do one little educational thing here, wait a year, do another one. We recently brought on TJ Hardnett, who is over our RYNO Traction. He's head of all coaching and training for RYNO. And the point of bringing him on board is we were blessed enough that he became available during COVID. And we knew from listening to every single phone call and how our account managers meeting with our customers that they were having issues. And I'm like, how can we help solve these problems? And there was a lack of ongoing education and really accountability. And so I thought, this is a common problem with all of us, that we need some ongoing accountability and education and training. And then, of course, goals. I ask every employee of mine what's their personal goals and professional goals, and I check in with them once a quarter because I want to know how I can help towards it. And sometimes it's a pain in the ass to do it, I'm not going to lie. Like, it's a lot of people to reach out to, but I want to because I really care about how they're doing and progressing. And if you've ever had an employee be able to buy a house or a car or do something amazing because of the job that you did and what you've poured into them, it is the best feeling in the world next to seeing your kids be successful, right? It's a good feeling, and it really helps with employee retention. And then, of course, recruiting and referral stuff. I mean, you have to pay attention to recruiting ongoing. I just did this podcast again with Keith, who was talking about their tech training school. You got to be trying to do something constantly to try and keep the door coming in. Create a little video that talks about why somebody should come work for your company. That's heartfelt from your technicians, maybe from the owner, from you, whomever it is, on why somebody, not what you do or what their job's going to be. They know what their job's going to be, why they should come work with you. What's the heart of your business? And put those videos out there. But then I'll talk about the last one I've talked about numerous times. It's a CSR training thing that blows my mind. I know Brigham's next door, I think, doing probably a training on these things with Power Selling Pros. Where we are aligned very much so is that this is still one of the weakest spots in the business today. It's like the most ignored position. It's a $12 an hour position, but it's like, think about how critical that role is. All the money we spent to get the phone call, we're paying attention to all the leads. We're getting all this attention, we're paying attention to our employees, we're doing all these things, but the employee we pay the least attention to is the one taking the phone call and representing our business. I've heard it so many years of the same things, and it gets so frustrating. And the turnover is like crazy. There's so much turnover in that CSR position, but it's such a critical role. So having somebody help hold them accountable, whether it be a coach or even somebody internally, just to listen to their own phone calls. This is why I love the CSR assessments, because we take it, we send it over to the rep to have them take a listen to their own call. Sometimes that fixes the problem just because they hear them their own selves. But you offer some coaching to them, how to overcome an objection. Those things are absolutely important. I promise you, it's worth getting a coach, if nothing else, to hold them accountable and consistently coach them to be better. Because no matter what marketing channels you're doing, or even your repeat and referral business, is all impacted by that human being, and you're answering your phone, representing your business. It's that important to pay attention to. So I'm still a big fan of after-hours calls, by the way. Like, this is where the nerd in me still loves to dig it. This is where I annoy the majority of our data analysis crew, is that I love to see after-hours data. Now, I've also become a fan recently of people giving their staff weekends or a Sunday off work. Because that's great for recruiting, by the way, because all you think about is, oh my God, how much business do I lose on that Sunday? And I say, man, just have to look at your employee retention and look at what you start to attract from recruiting because you give them Sundays off or the weekend off. It's a different mindset, and it's working really, really well. But no matter whatever you're doing, the after hours leads that come in still close at a higher rate and have higher revenue attached to them. They still are winners. If a human being answers that phone, that's maybe not an after hours answering service, because we know how the after hours answering service game goes. But whatever you do, be consistent. So I was blessed enough to have had a private event a couple weeks ago in Phoenix, and I had Mike Tyson in. And so Mike Tyson was cool to have in. He said a lot of crazy stuff that had zero value to any of the HVAC and plumbing contractors sitting in that room. Zero. But he said one thing that was profound, and it was consistency kicks determination's ass. Consistency kicks determination's ass. Be consistent with what you're doing. If you don't get it right, try it again, fix it, ask for help. Everybody wants to help right now. Everybody's cool with you coming to their shops and checking things out. Everybody's cool with getting on the phone and talking through things. I feel like that's what's been so great, is everybody's been willing to kind of help. Our industry really, really rose up together and helped one another. But be consistent with whatever it is that you do.
So paying attention to growth, or your growth through, is this right?
You're good.
All good. So common misses of the gap between market leads and your field management software closed revenue, right? So you have to pay attention.
And yeah, and so basically, who in here uses like ServiceTitan or HouseCall Pro or has any sort of field management software? Raise your hand. Okay. Well done. That's a good thing. Who in here uses QuickBooks still? Nobody wants to raise their hand? Okay, perfect. That's good. Thank you. You got baby steps. We're all working like it's all stuff. I still use QuickBooks and Salesforce and another CRM.
And all of them.
Yeah. But I have relationships with all these different field management softwares, because somebody's got, like, if you want to scale, you got to know your numbers, and at least why not utilize the technology to help you scale those things. But where the biggest misses are, and I'm going to read through this super fast, is in the gap. You might look and judge your marketing company based on closed revenue, and I'm here to tell you that's wrong. Because we aren't, or they aren't, closing these leads for you or responsible for your average ticket. Now, I'm not saying that they're not always the ones that are wrong. I'm just saying you can't just take it at face value and say they're wrong. Closed revenue, this wasn't a success. Because what you really need to look at was, what was total lead volume opportunity that they brought in? What did I actually book? So what's my booking rate and what's my revenue? In that gap, I promise you, where the majority of the work is done is in that gap. You find missed opportunities and how to fix them. You find calls that were mishandled and how to fix those CSRs. From that, you start to get increased sales, which means increased profitability, because we are in the profitability game, right? We are for-profit businesses. You start to understand booking rate per service. Are we booking better for plumbing versus AC or repair versus install? What is it? Booking rate per marketing source. How is my CSRs booking on pay-per-click leads versus SEO leads? Like, these things are tracked for you, so you can see, well, maybe I spend more money on this one because it's got a higher average ticket and I'm booking it better. All this data you can pull from your field management software and your reporting dashboards from your marketing companies. It's there. And all you gotta do is take one day a month to at least go through that with them thoroughly. 1 hour. Go through those numbers and help them give the information to you the way you need it to be able to make good decisions with your business. I promise you it's all there right now without you spending anything else. It's there, you just gotta ask for it. This is my favorite one, by the way. We're gonna close out with this.
It is. It's one of my favorites too, and it's probably the easiest for me to talk about, because I think paying attention to giving back is almost more important than people, product, anything like that, right? If you are not involved in your community, then why is your community gonna support you as a business? So it's extremely important to pay attention to giving back to your community. And there's a lot of things that you can do, right? We're in the HVAC business and we provide air, right? We install equipment for homeowners. But there's a lot more to it than that, right? When you go out and you install new equipment to somebody, you're providing their home with comfort. And so an easy add-on to your business with one of our programs is Feel the Love. It's a program that we started with you, our dealers, to give back to the community by providing equipment to people and families who do not have the means to put a piece of equipment in their home, right? So how does it work? The community nominates a person in need. Lennox partners with our dealers. We give the equipment, you guys do the installation, and in the end, we're providing comfort to somebody's home. So that's an easy way for you guys to partner and also give back to your community, right? It's an authentic to your business. We're providing comfort to somebody in need. But there's a lot more that you guys can do than just Feel the Love, right? You can do shelters, you can do food drives, and Chris, I know you guys do a lot of this stuff too.
Yeah, so there's so many things you can do that you got no excuse not to do something. But food banks, animal shelters, homeless shelters, Habitat for Humanity, food drives, children's hospitals, elderly homes, I've done it all. Or you can create your own. You can create your own thing where you go in and you bring everybody in, you pack sandwiches and bags, you take them down to maybe a shelter or like a homeless community or whatever. But again, you're giving back together. It feels good to give back, and you go and give those things. And I think it gives you a really good perspective of like, it may seem bad, but is it really that bad? It's an amazing thing to give back, and we should all be doing those things. And I believe that doing good is good business. Somebody told me that, I think, early on in my company about, hey, I'm really glad that you guys are giving back because doing good is good business. That's true. I can't remember who was it said it on main stage, and we're talking about Feel the Love. I love the Feel the Love program. I think that's why it's called Feel the Love. I feel the love, and I've had a lot of customers that are involved in those things, and I've heard the stories, and I've seen the outcomes, and I got the goosebumps. All that stuff is real. That feels good. The business grows. You start to implement these things that we have given you. The business grows. The profitability grows. You got either pay taxes anyway. Why not start to donate some stuff instead of paying the tax? You've got options, but give back. Lennox put together the perfect program to do exactly that with Feel the Love, the perfect program. So there's really no excuse to do it, and it's easy to get involved. And I will finish with this too. So I'm grateful for your guys' time. Like we're pretty close to right on time too. I just want to say, getting attention is the easiest part. It is the easiest part in comparison to paying attention because you have so many things you have to pay attention to. The lead source, the cost per lead, the booking rate, your people, how to implement culture, how to continue training, ongoing things. But you got to do it. You have to do these things to be a successful business. You have to do these things to grow the companies. I gave you 6 P's that will move your business forward. 6 of them. If you implement one of those things, your business will be better this year than it was last year, I promise you that. Is that cool? This is when you say, Chris, that's the coolest thing I've ever heard.
Chris, that's the coolest thing I've ever heard.
So again, I'll finish with this. These are all things that I've implemented with some of the biggest and best companies, and I don't even care about biggest, but best, and even just biggest growth companies. Whether you want to scale the business or sell the business, either one, these are all things that are going to help drive that multiple for you if that's your end game. And multiples are ridiculous at this point in time. I'm not telling you to sell. I'm just saying you're in the game of growing the business too. And these are the things I just shared with you, that we've shared with you, that have done exactly that. But complacency has no what? Complacency has no vacancy. Doing nothing, you will lose. If you do nothing, you will lose. I promise you there's somebody else out there who has the no 0 days mindset, and they're crushing it. Don't be that. Be a 5%er. That's what you are. Ambition without action is what?
Useless.
It's useless. Don't be useless. You're better than that. Thank you guys so much. Daniel, appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, we're all done. Thank you so much.